Nobody tells you that the breakfast you've eaten for 40 years can turn into slow poison after 60. Margaret walked into my clinic last spring, 82 years old, sharp as a blade, complaining of chest tightness she dismissed as indigestion. Her ECG told a different story. 3 vessels significantly narrowed, plaque buildup so extensive I could trace it back through decades of morning meals she thought were harmless. She looked me in the eye and asked the question that still echoes in my exam room. How did I not know? That question has stayed with me. Because Margaret did everything she thought was right. She ate what her generation called a healthy breakfast. She followed the old food pyramids, the old advice, the old rules, and her arteries paid the price in silence. Here's what nobody tells you. Your body after 60 is not the same machine it was at 40. The way you process fats, sugars, and inflammatory compounds changes fundamentally. What slides through a middle-aged metabolism can stack up like sediment in aging vessels. If you're over 60 and still eating the same breakfast you ate at 50, you need to hear this. Today, I'm walking you through 5 common breakfast foods that are silently building plaque in your arteries, why they damage you differently now, and what you should eat instead. Stay with me. This could add years to your life. I'm Dr. Amir Shah. I've been a cardiothoracic surgeon for 28 years. I've performed over 2,000 open heart surgeries. I've held beating hearts in my hands, felt the texture of diseased vessels under my fingers, seen the inside of coronary arteries clogged with debris that patients had no idea was accumulating. I've stood in operating rooms at 3 in the morning repairing damage that took decades to build and minutes to trigger. And I've sat with families in waiting rooms, explaining that the heart attack their loved one just survived was not sudden. It was the final event in a process that started at the breakfast table 20 years ago. The medical system doesn't teach you this. It waits until you're sick, then offers you pills and procedures. Nobody pulls you aside at 60 and says, your endothelium is aging. Your bile acid metabolism is shifting. Your inflammatory response is heightened. Change your breakfast or pay later. That conversation doesn't happen because there's no billing code for prevention that actually works. So you keep eating toast and orange juice and cereal, and your arteries keep narrowing, and the system waits for you to break. Let me explain why your body after 60 is different. Your vascular endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your arteries, loses elasticity and repair capacity as you age. At 40, minor inflammatory insults get patched quickly. At 70, those same insults linger, triggering a cascade that attracts oxidized LDL cholesterol, immune cells, and calcium deposits. It's like comparing a freshwater stream that flushes clean every spring to a slow-moving canal that collects silt year after year. One study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that arterial stiffness increases by approximately 40% between age 50 and age 70, even in people without diagnosed heart disease. That stiffness makes your vessels more prone to plaque formation from dietary triggers that barely touched you when you were younger. Think of it this way. Your arteries at 65 are like old pipes. They've handled decades of flow. The inner coating is thinner. The responsiveness is slower. A surge of sugar or a flood of trans fats that would have passed through clean at 35 now scrapes and sticks and accumulates. Starting tonight, you need to treat your breakfast like the most important cardiovascular decision you make all day. Because it is. Let me walk you through the 5 foods. First item, white bread and toast. You've been eating it your whole life. It's cheap, it's easy, it's everywhere. And after 60, it's one of the fastest ways to spike your blood sugar and inflame your arterial walls. Here's the mechanism. White bread is stripped of fiber and nutrients, leaving pure starch that your digestive system converts to glucose within minutes. That glucose floods your bloodstream, triggering an insulin surge. In younger people, insulin resistance is manageable. After 60, insulin sensitivity drops by roughly 30% on average. That means more glucose stays in your blood longer, where it binds to proteins in your arterial walls in a process called glycation. Glycated proteins stiffen your vessels and create rough patches where LDL cholesterol loves to stick. The age-specific risk is this. Every blood sugar spike after 60 creates more oxidative stress than it did at 50. Your antioxidant systems are weaker. Your repair enzymes are slower. 2 slices of white toast can raise your blood glucose as much as drinking a soda. And when that happens every single morning, year after year, you're laying down plaque like grout between tiles. I had a patient named Robert, 71, former engineer, meticulous about his health except for one habit, 2 slices of white toast with butter and jam every morning for 50 years. He came in for a routine stress test and failed it badly. Catheterization showed his left anterior descending artery was 70% blocked. He stared at the images on the screen and said, "But I don't eat junk food." He didn't think toast was junk. That's the problem. Neither does anyone else. Write that down. White bread is not neutral. After 60, it is arterial sandpaper. What should you eat instead? Switch to sprouted grain bread or seed-based bread, Ezekiel bread, German Vollkornbrot, or Scandinavian Rugbrot. These retain fiber, slow glucose release, and deliver magnesium and omega-3 precursors that actually protect your endothelium. If you must have toast, make it one slice, not two, and pair it with avocado or almond butter to blunt the glucose spike. Starting tonight, white bread is off your table. Second item, orange juice. I know. You were told it's healthy. Vitamin C. Natural, fresh squeezed from Florida. Let me tell you what fresh squeezed orange juice really is. Liquid sugar with a vitamin C alibi. One 8-ounce glass of orange juice contains 21 grams of sugar. That's more sugar than a glazed donut. And unlike eating an orange, which gives you fiber to slow absorption, drinking juice delivers that sugar straight into your bloodstream in a concentrated wave. Here's the mechanism. Fructose, the primary sugar in orange juice, is metabolized in your liver and converted into triglycerides, blood fats that promote plaque formation. After 60, your liver's ability to process fructose efficiently declines. That means more of it gets turned into fat. More of that fat circulates in your blood, and more of it ends up embedded in your arterial walls. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that daily consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages, including fruit juice, increased coronary artery calcification by 22% over 5 years in adults over 60. The age-specific risk is hidden inflammation. Fructose triggers the production of uric acid, which drives low-grade systemic inflammation. In younger people, this gets cleared. In older adults, it accumulates, keeping your immune system on alert, your arteries in a state of chronic repair mode, and your plaque growing silently. I had a patient named Linda, 68, yoga instructor, health conscious, who drank 2 glasses of fresh orange juice every morning because she thought it was virtuous. Her lipid panel was a disaster, triglycerides over 200, HDL in the basement. We stopped the juice, replaced it with whole fruit and water. 6 months later, her triglycerides dropped by 90 points. She looked at me and said, "I thought I was doing something good for my body." That's the tragedy. You think you're being healthy while you're building plaque. Here's what nobody tells you. Fruit juice is not fruit. It's sugar water with vitamins. What should you drink instead? Water, black coffee, green tea. If you want citrus, eat half a grapefruit or a whole orange. The fiber changes everything. If you absolutely need a morning beverage with flavor, try water with lemon slices or unsweetened hibiscus tea, which actually lowers blood pressure. But the glass of orange juice, it ends today. Now stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you next is going to surprise you. Third item, low-fat yogurt. This is the one that shocks people the most. You've been buying low-fat yogurt for years because you were told fat was the enemy. The food industry heard that message and gave you exactly what you asked for. Yogurt with the fat removed and sugar added to make it taste like something other than sour paste. Check the label on your favorite low-fat yogurt. 6 ounces of vanilla low-fat yogurt contains between 15 and 20 grams of added sugar. That's 4 to 5 teaspoons. You might as well be eating ice cream for breakfast. Here's the mechanism. When you remove fat from yogurt, you remove satiety. You remove the fat-soluble vitamins. You remove the protective effects of conjugated linoleic acid, which has been shown to reduce arterial inflammation. What you're left with is a sugar delivery system disguised as health food. That sugar behaves exactly like the sugar in orange juice. It spikes your blood glucose, triggers insulin resistance, promotes fat storage in your liver, and drives systemic inflammation. The age-specific risk is this. After 60, your gut microbiome diversity declines. You need real fermented foods with healthy fats to maintain that diversity. Low-fat sugary yogurt feeds the wrong bacteria, promotes gut inflammation, and that inflammation doesn't stay in your gut. It circulates through your bloodstream and damages your arterial walls. A study in the European Heart Journal found that high sugar intake in adults over 60 was independently associated with increased arterial stiffness, even when controlling for weight and activity level. I had a patient named Thomas, 74, retired accountant, who ate low-fat vanilla yogurt with granola every single morning because his doctor told him to avoid fat. His A1C, a measure of long-term blood sugar control, was creeping up every year. His carotid ultrasound showed plaque. We switched him to full-fat plain Greek yogurt with berries and walnuts. 3 months later, his fasting glucose dropped 18 points. He said, "I thought fat was supposed to kill me. That's what they taught us. They were wrong." Write that down. Low fat does not mean heart healthy. After 60, it usually means high sugar. What should you eat instead? Full-fat plain Greek yogurt or Icelandic skyr. Add your own fresh berries, a sprinkle of cinnamon, maybe some chia seeds or ground flaxseed. You control the sugar. You get the protein, the probiotics, the fat-soluble vitamins, and none of the metabolic chaos. If dairy bothers you, try unsweetened coconut yogurt with live cultures. But the flavored low-fat cups in the grocery store? Those are dessert pretending to be breakfast. Fourth item, breakfast cereal. I don't care if the box says heart healthy or shows a smiling cardiologist or has a red check mark from some heart association. Most breakfast cereals are nutritionally closer to cookies than to real food. Even the ones marketed to seniors, the bran flakes, the whole grain squares, the fiber-added clusters are loaded with refined carbohydrates, added sugars, and inflammatory seed oils used in processing. Here's the mechanism. Breakfast cereal is designed to be shelf-stable for months, which means it's heavily processed. That processing destroys natural enzymes, oxidizes fats, and creates advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which are exactly what they sound like. They accelerate aging at the cellular level, particularly in your vascular system. When you eat a bowl of cereal with skim milk, you're delivering a payload of fast carbs, oxidized lipids, and very little protein or healthy fat to slow absorption. The age-specific risk is blood sugar volatility. After 60, your pancreas doesn't respond to glucose spikes as quickly. You get a prolonged elevation in blood sugar, followed by a crash that leaves you hungry again by 10 in the morning. That cycle, spike, crash, spike again, is a cardiovascular disaster. It promotes insulin resistance, increases triglycerides, reduces HDL cholesterol, and creates the perfect environment for plaque to grow. A meta-analysis in the British Medical Journal found that diets high in refined grains increase cardiovascular disease risk by 12% in older adults, independent of other dietary factors. I had a patient named Evelyn, 79, sharp mind, active bridge player, who ate a bowl of bran flakes with a banana every morning for as long as she could remember. Her cardiologist put her on a statin because her LDL was high. The statin gave her muscle pain. We changed her breakfast to 2 eggs, cooked in olive oil with sautéed spinach and a quarter avocado. Her LDL dropped 23 points in 3 months without the statin. She said, "Nobody ever told me cereal was the problem." That's because nobody's paying attention to your breakfast. They're paying attention to your cholesterol number. Here's what nobody tells you. Cereal is not health food. It's convenience food with a nutrition label. What should you eat instead? If you want something quick, make overnight oats with steel-cut oats, unsweetened almond milk, chia seeds, walnuts, and fresh berries. Or have 2 pasture-raised eggs with vegetables. Or a protein smoothie with spinach, half a frozen banana, protein powder, flaxseed, and unsweetened almond milk. Real food, whole food. Food that doesn't come in a box with a cartoon mascot. Fifth item, margarine and vegetable oil spreads. You stopped using butter decades ago because you were told it would kill you. You switched to margarine because it was heart healthy. That advice was wrong, and it's hurt millions of people. Most margarines and spreads are made from industrial seed oils, soybean, canola, corn, sunflower, that are extracted using heat and chemical solvents, then partially hydrogenated to make them solid at room temperature. That process creates trans fats. Even margarines labeled zero trans fats contain trace amounts, and after 60, even trace amounts matter. Here's the mechanism. Industrial seed oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which promote inflammation when consumed in excess. Your body needs a balance of omega-3 and omega-6. The ideal ratio is somewhere between 1:1 and 1:4. The average Western diet delivers a ratio of 1:20. That imbalance keeps your immune system in overdrive, your arterial walls inflamed, and your clotting factors activated. When you spread margarine on your toast every morning, you're feeding that inflammation. The age-specific risk is oxidative stress. Omega-6 fats oxidize easily, especially when heated or exposed to light. Oxidized fats are free radicals. Free radicals damage your endothelial cells, oxidize your LDL cholesterol, and turn it into the sticky, dangerous form that embeds in arterial plaque. After 60, your antioxidant defenses are weaker, so oxidized fats do more damage than they did when you were younger. I had a patient named Harold, 76, retired postal worker, who used margarine on everything, toast, vegetables, even stirred into his oatmeal because he thought it was safer than butter. His C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation, was sky high. His coronary calcium score was over 400. We replaced the margarine with grass-fed butter and extra virgin olive oil. 6 months later, his CRP dropped by 60%. He said, "I've been eating the wrong fat my whole life." Yes, and so has everyone else who believed the food industry. Write that down. Margarine is not medicine. It is inflammation in a tub. What should you use instead? Grass-fed butter in moderation, extra virgin olive oil, or avocado. These contain anti-inflammatory fats, fat-soluble vitamins, and polyphenols that actually protect your arteries. If you're worried about saturated fat, understand this. Saturated fat from real food does not cause heart disease. Oxidized industrial oils do. The science has shifted. The guidelines haven't caught up. But your breakfast needs to. Let me take you back to the operating room for a moment. I've stood over open chests and looked directly at coronary arteries, the vessels that feed the heart muscle itself. I've seen plaques so thick it felt like bone under my instruments. I've seen vessels so narrow that a grain of rice wouldn't fit through. And every time, I think about the families in the waiting room, pacing, praying, asking how this happened. The answer is always the same. It happened slowly. It happened quietly. It happened at the breakfast table over decades of foods that seemed harmless. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to destroy their arteries. You eat what you've always eaten. You follow the advice you were given. You trust the labels and the guidelines, and your body keeps score in silence until the day it doesn't. Margaret, the patient I mentioned at the start, didn't need surgery. We caught it early enough. We changed her breakfast, optimized her medications, and monitored her closely. 2 years later, her follow-up imaging showed plaque stabilization and even some regression. She went from 4 medications to 2. She walks 3 miles a day now, and she tells everyone she meets, "I wish someone had told me this 30 years ago." That's why I'm telling you now. Let me summarize the 5 foods you need to remove from your breakfast after 60. Number 1, white bread and toast. Switch to sprouted grain or seed-based bread. Number 2, orange juice. Replace it with water, black coffee, or whole fruit. Number 3, low-fat yogurt. Choose full-fat plain Greek yogurt and add your own fruit. Number 4, breakfast cereal. Make overnight oats or eat real eggs with vegetables. Number 5, margarine and spreads. Use grass-fed butter, olive oil, or avocado. Here's what I want you to do. Leave a comment below and tell me which one of these 5 foods you're giving up starting tomorrow. Be specific. Say, "I'm ditching the orange juice," or "No more cereal for me." When you write it down, you're more likely to follow through. And if you found this information useful, share this video with one person over 60 who needs to hear it. It might be a parent, a spouse, a friend, someone you care about who's still eating the breakfast that's silently building plaque. And if you want more cardiovascular truth that the system won't tell you, subscribe to this channel. I post new videos every week. Let me close with this. Your heart has been working for you every single minute of every single day since before you were born. It has never taken a break. It has never asked for applause. It just keeps beating, keeps pumping, keeps trying. The least you can do is stop poisoning it at breakfast. It is never too late to change. Margaret is proof. Robert is proof. Linda, Thomas, Evelyn, Harold, they're all proof. You don't need permission from your doctor to stop eating cereal and start eating eggs. You don't need a prescription to switch from margarine to olive oil. You just need to decide. Your arteries are listening. What you eat tomorrow morning matters. Now here's the part where I have to be honest with you in a personal way, not a legal one. I'm a surgeon. I've spent my career inside operating rooms, not courtrooms. Everything I've shared today comes from my experience, my reading of the research, and my observations of thousands of patients over nearly 3 decades. But I'm not your doctor. I don't know your specific medical history, your medications, your allergies, or your individual risk factors. So before you make any major changes to your diet, especially if you're managing diabetes, kidney disease, or you're on blood thinners, talk to your physician. Get your labs checked. Make sure your changes are safe for your unique situation. This video is education, not prescription. It's a conversation, not a directive. Use it as a starting point. Your health is too important to leave to a YouTube video alone, even one made by someone who's held a beating heart in his hands.